The President of the Republic, Paul Biya, has addressed the youths throughout the national territory. Youths in the town of Boya, southwest region of the country, have come out in their numbers to celebrate the 56th edition of the Youth Day. And out of the country, Somalia's land top diplomat has maintained the country's sovereignty. These and many more will make up today's edition of the English newscast. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks for joining us on the 5:30 p.m. newscast over LTM TV. We are broadcasting live from our headquarters in the economic capital of Cameroon, Douala. The President of the Republic has addressed the youth throughout the national territory. This is an act that is carried out every 10th of February during the Youth Week celebration. Our reporter, Mabia Grace, exploits his speech and gives us the details.
The President's traditional February 10th speech, in line with the 56th edition of the 11 Days Youth Week, addressing the youths throughout the national territory, was done at 8 p.m. Thursday 10th, 2022. Speaking to his fellow patriots, he congratulated the Indomitable Lions for the third position at the AFCON and encouraged them to work in view of their World Cup qualifier. He revealed substantially that efforts are being made to create jobs for young people. In line with this, the Priority Action Plan 2030 is expected to create 600,000 jobs annually with the involvement of regional and local authorities. On the same occasion, Cameroon's chief executive highlighted the importance to expand training that will allow young people acquire useful and relevant skills that will open up employment opportunities. The head of state announced the creation of a special solidarity fund to finance projects of youth. He further explains that in order to ease access to funding for small and medium-sized enterprises, government plans to mobilize specific national, bilateral, and multilateral funding to support the establishment of a guarantee fund for young entrepreneurs. It should be noted that the youths have been invited to seize all opportunities offered by digital communication through their socio-economic adaptation application, and for the youth to use the media responsibly in order to send out a good image so as to take the country a step further.
The mayor of the city of Bafoussam, west region of the country, Roger Tafam, has reacted to the president's speech. This is to invite the youths to follow and implement the advice given to them by the head of state. Mabia Grace tells us more.
In the city of Bafoussam, west region of the country, the message of the head of state addressing the youths was eagerly awaited and received by several inhabitants throughout the nation on February 10th, 2022 at 8 p.m. Notably that of the city mayor of Bafoussam, Roger Tafam, who followed the speech and at the end welcomed the announcement made by the head of state, which includes future involvement of local authorities in the selection of projects proposed by young entrepreneurs.
We have just followed the message of the head of state to the youth, and we are very happy because it is a complete message. He started by talking about the recent AFCON. You know, the sport is the domain of the youth. Then he also recalled some of the action that the government has made up to last year in favor of the youth. Then he promised us some future action, for example, a fund that will permit, a fund of guarantee that will permit all the youth to have financement for their project.
To this effect, the councillor of the city of Bafoussam took a step further by inviting young people to follow and implement the advice of the President of the Republic. It is important to note that the 56th edition of the Youth Week Festival, which is celebrated on February 11th throughout the national territory, is being carried out alongside with the big parade, traditional dances, dancing competition, and many others. Unlike the 55th edition, where the parade it had no place in the city of Bafoussam because of the coronavirus pandemic.
And in the northwest region of the country, the CPDM youths of the Santa subdivision have come out in their numbers to celebrate the 56th anniversary of the Youth Day. They have also pleaded with the state to create an employment council for their locality. Our reporter, Mwanze Njokyogo, gives us the details.
Youths of the Santa subdivision in the northwest region of Cameroon, under the coordination of the Cameroon People Democratic Movement (CPDM), send their sincere gratitude to the head of state, His Excellency Paul Biya, for his promise to create 600,000 jobs for Cameroonians by the year 2030. The youths from that locality, whose predominant economic activity is agriculture, pleads with the state to construct roads from their farms to the markets. They also plead with the government to build processing centers in their locality, which will process their local cash crops such as potatoes and cassava to flour.
The head of state should give us more farm-to-market roads. The head of state should give us transformation centers where we can transform our natural products, our cash crops like potatoes and cassava into flour. The head of state speech was very clear yesterday. It was very inspiring. Young startups now have access to guarantee fund, and more so, the head of state made it very clear that 600,000 jobs will be created yearly between now and 2030. So our greatest wish is that we should get our own share of that. Of the national.
Also, they appealed for a creation of a National Employment Council, which they believe will boost up agricultural productivity. On his part, the divisional officer for Santa appealed for the continuous respect of state institutions and peace to reign in the locality and civility as a gateway to meaningful development.
In the speech of the head of state yesterday, the main message is peace and development. So, in this Youth Day, I take the opportunity to address for the youth of Santa subdivision that they are not afraid, that they made to come here in Santa to participate to our the development of our subdivision. So, in God's grace, Santa, peace must reign in Santa. So that is the main message to wanted to give to the youth of Santa, that don't afraid, come to and collaborate with the administration.
The celebration was also marked by the lighting of candles with the aim of pleading to their brothers and loved ones to drop their weapons, return home, and join in the fight for the development of their locality.
Still in the northwest region of the country, the Tuba subdivision youths came out in their numbers to celebrate the 56th edition of the Youth Day celebration. This is to call on the youths for civic and patriotic values throughout the national territory. Our reporter, Mabia Grace, tells us more.
The atmosphere is bright and equally loose as youths in Tubad subdivision in the Mezam division, northwest region of the country, celebrates the 56th edition of the National Youth Day. This ceremony, which is celebrated under the theme Youth and Voluntary Participation in Major Challenges of Cameroon, laid certain emphasis on population collaboration and the calls for civic and patriotic values through respect of republican laws. Prior to this, the youths are seen engaged in several activities such as peace debate, singing, and showing the place of effective communication and bilingualism as tools for peace. Likewise, the youths, through their excel, received talks on entrepreneurship.
The population of Tuba, in their great majority, were very glad to renew with this Republican obligation, celebration of the 11th of February. The march past went on hitch-free. We want to thank them who braved the odds to come and be Republicans.
It is important to note that Tuba is one of the subdivisions in the Mezam division that has not celebrated national events since 2017. And with the new administration recently appointed, measures have been taken to ensure a vibrant community.
We now take you out of the country to the we now take you to the southwest region, where youths in the town of Buea, southwest region of Cameroon, have joined to celebrate the 56th anniversary of the Youth Day. This occasion was chaired by the governor of the southwest region, Bernard Okalia Bilai. Our reporter, Mwanze Njoriogo, tells us more.
Done us proud since its creation.
Youths in the town of Buea gathered at the Independence Square in Buea to celebrate the 56th edition of the National Youth Day under the watchful eyes of the governor of the Southwest region, Bernard Okalia Bilai. Amidst the call for a boycott of the national celebration by unknown gunmen, the youths shone out fear and braved the odds to exercise their civic duty on this day set aside by the state. As instructed by the hierarchy, the parade took place under strict respect of COVID-19 barrier measures given the peculiar health complex of the city. The governor of the Southwest region, Bernard Okalia Bilai, called on the youths to work hard, be advocates of peace, and to be nation builders.
So the youth should seize the importance of this event and realize that they too, in their various domains, can become like J. Clinton, can be like the Francis Gallo, the head of state, cited yesterday in his address. I mean, the youth should continue to work hard and to forget to listen to those who are misleading them, those who are calling them to carry weapons to destroy and to kill. Those who were misled should now should realize that they were misled and come back. The head of state is appealing all the youth to come and join the government and himself for the building of our nation.
The parade, which lasted over 30 minutes, comprised of youths from primary and secondary schools, higher institutions of learning, vocational training centers, as well as political parties took turns in the parade in the presence of administrative, traditional authorities.
The youths of the Mamfe Division have celebrated the National Youth Day. This occasion was chaired by the Divisional Officer for Manu Division. Our reporter, Elizabeth Mwanze, tells us more.
Amid arson attack on Queen of the Rosary College, Mamfe, last night, and the 3 days imposed lockdown by separatist fighters to prevent any Youth Day activities from taking place in the Manu Division, the population of Mamfe still turned out to commemorate the 56th edition of the National Youth Day. The activities at the Mamfe Grandstand kicked off with the arrival of the Senior Divisional Officer of Manu, De Joseph. After the installation of officials at the tribune, the head of state's address to the youth was replayed, which ushered the parade. The parade lasted for close to an hour and was animated by youth of the primary and secondary schools, vocational training centers, and youth of the CPDM Mamfe Central. The senior divisional officer of Manu, De Joseph, exhorted youths of his administrative jurisdiction to abide by the guidelines prescribed by the head of state in his address to them.
The participation of our youth. During the launching ceremony, we noticed a massive turnout of our youth. We noticed enthusiasm of our youth to participate. And all activities which have been programmed went on very well. And I congratulate our youth, Mamfe youth, especially those who are still hiding in the bushes, to come back home. Because what they are doing might not be a way of life. We call them upon to lay down weapons and come back home to live a better life. We have many challenges and we have to come together to overcome these challenges, to fight for peace, to fight for security, and to fight in view to improve on the living condition of our people in Mayo Division and beyond Mayo Division in our country.
The mayor of Mamfe, being a youth, says the youth of Mamfe are ready to rally behind the head of state and the institutions he incarnates.
Us, the youth, we have decided that we want to rally behind the state because we have suffered for a very long time, and now time has come when we have decided to say that no to killings, no to kidnapping, no to ransom.
The ceremony was also characterized by the award of prizes to the best schools in choral music, traditional dance, football, playback display, and art, which were activities that took place during the Youth Week. The best choral group performed their winning song to crown activities of the 56th edition of the National Youth Day in Mamfe, Chief Town of the Mayo Division.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now take you out of the country where Somaliland's top diplomat has maintained the country's sovereignty. Courtesy African News.
Somaliland's foreign minister reaffirmed the country's sovereignty in the face of China. Speaking during a visit to Taiwan, the top diplomat said that China cannot dictate Somaliland's foreign relations.
We were born free, and we will stay free, and then we will run our business the way we want it. China cannot dictate. No other country can dictate who we are going to be.
The high-level delegation visited Taipei this week in a bid to attract business to the country that remains mostly unrecognized by the rest of the world.
Our relationship is meant to be beneficial, not only to Somaliland and Taiwan, but to the global community. It's not meant to be adversarial. It doesn't detract anything from anyone. I think it's a relationship which everybody should be supporting.
The visit to Taiwan sparked an angry reaction from mainland China, with Beijing accusing Taiwan of seeking separatism.
Saudi Arabia has preserved its country's rich coffee. Courtesy African News.
For coffee grower Farah Al-Malki, growing coffee plants in Saudi Arabia's southwestern region of Jizan is more than just a job. It is a tradition passed down from generation to generation. The kingdom has a long history with coffee, which spread from Ethiopia to Yemen and then to the rest of the Middle East around the 15th century. Coffee remains an integral part of Saudi culture. I inherited the farm from my father, who I used to work with, and I'm passing it on to my children, who also work with me. I hope that my grandchildren work there too, in the coffee farm. By the end of 2021, the kingdom's 600 farms produced around 800 tons of coffee a year, a fraction of what Ethiopia produces. According to domestic reports, Saudi Arabia plans to plant 1.2 million coffee trees by 2025. Coffee growing is a legacy and everyone should preserve it. Coffee farming is an instinct that is passed from generation to generation. Saudi Arabia has sought to include its cultivation of Kavlani coffee beans on the list of UNESCO's intangible cultural heritage of humanity. For this coffee grower, it would be a dream come true. My dream is to fulfill my father's hope to continue our work in the farm, and hopefully I will pass it on to my children and grandchildren, and it will be our source of income. If the Kavlani coffee beans were to be included on the UNESCO list, then this would help in supporting farmers and preserving coffee trees. Saudi Arabia has designated 2022 as the year of Saudi coffee. The authorities have already instructed restaurants and cafes to use the term Saudi coffee instead of Arabic coffee.
Ladies and gentlemen, here we draw the curtains of today's edition of the English newscast. Join Irene Gladys Nono at exactly 7:45 for the news in the French language. And until then, remain tuned to our numerous programs. See you tomorrow. Good night.